Hello, welcome to my channel. Welcome in. Today on this true crime channel, we'll be discussing true crime cases that are very bizarre, very horrific, and more on this channel. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely stay subscribed. Definitely subscribe if you haven't already. Let's go ahead and get into the case that we are discussing on today. In the remote desert of Elephant Butte, New Mexico, surrounded by miles of silent sand and sunburned emptiness, stood a simple white trailer, a trailer that locals knew as the Toy Box. Inside that trailer was something no one could have ever imagined: a torture chamber, meticulously engineered for over decades, a place where screams were swallowed by the desert wind, and the man behind it all would go down in history as one of the most sadistic predators America has ever known. This is the disturbing story of David Parker Ray, better known as the Toy Box Killer. He was a man who built his own world of pain, hunted his victims with precision, and recorded every detail of depravity. Tonight, we go deep into this case that took years to unravel. A case filled with missing women, chilling recordings, and horror so extreme they challenged even seasoned investigators. Elephant Butte was the kind of quiet town where everyone knew your name. The kind of place where secrets didn't stay hidden for long, except one. David Parker Ray. He was born on November 6, 1939, in Belen, New Mexico. His childhood was anything but ordinary. He was raised primarily by his grandfather. He endured a lot of discipline being with his grandfather. Discipline, he would get beatings. There was a lot of strict rules and even emotional neglect for David Parker Ray here. But the most influential figure in his young life was his father, who drifted in and out, leaving behind violent images, things like that. You guys get what I'm saying? I don't want to say that on here. It's very graphic, but he would leave around very graphic magazines, very graphic photos, images, and explicit material that David had discovered for way too young. At school, Ray was quiet, withdrawn. He even got bullied from time to time. His peers described him as awkward but polite. No one knew he was drawing graphic sketches of torture devices in the margins of his notebooks. As he entered adulthood, Ray joined the army. He trained as a mechanic and became known for his technical skills. To the outside world, he blended in. He was a hard-working man with a calm demeanor to the outside world. That's the depiction that he was giving off. He blended in. But behind closed doors was a different story. He nurtured dark fantasies of domination, control, and pain. Fantasies he would spend decades perfecting. By the 1990s, Ray had moved to Elephant Butte Resort area and worked as a maintenance man for the local state park. People trusted him. He seemed helpful. He seemed harmless. There was nothing that was raising a red flag between this man. But at a property behind his house was a right trailer, sat ready, stocked with chains, tools, syringes, medical equipment, and something else he built with expert precision. That was called his toy box. When investigators finally entered his trailer, they froze. They could not believe their eyes. They could not believe what they were seeing. They looked around in awe. Just awe. Like, how could a human have this going on? Like, the items that were inside were just terrifying. They could not imagine what was going on, the terrifying acts that had took place there. Let me tell you a little bit about what was inside. He had a gynecological, a gynecologist table with metal stirrups. He had dozens of whips, chains, pulleys, clamps. He had surgical instruments. He had saw blades. He had syringes filled with unknown chemicals. Nobody even know what the hell it was. He had medical diagrams. He had a mirror above the table that was forcing the victims to watch what was going on. He had leather belts, straps, mechanical devices designed specifically for restraint. But perhaps the most chilling of all, he had audio tapes. So he would tape all of this as well. He had tapes. Ray had recorded long monologues, instructions played to the victims when they regained consciousness. On these tapes, he calmly introduced himself. He explained what he planned to do and detailed every rule they were forced to say to obey him. He spoke with no emotion. He spoke with no remorse. Just a second, guys. He only spoke with control. He craved control and domination. Those were things that he were into. Those were mainly the things that were held over the victims. One FBI agent described the recordings as the most disturbing evidence he had ever heard of. Ray didn't see himself as a killer. He saw himself as an engineer of suffering. On March 19, 1999, 22-year-old Cynthia was working in Albuquerque when a man was posing as an undercover cop arrested her. But he wasn't just law enforcement. He wasn't law enforcement at all, actually. It was David Parker Ray. He subdued Cynthia with a stun gun, bound her, and transported her to Elephant Butte. When she woke up, she was strapped to Ray's torture table, listening to his infamous tape. For 3 days, she endured relentless assault from Ray and his girlfriend Cindy, who enthusiastically participated. But Cynthia refused to give up. On the third day, Hendy made a mistake. She left the keys to Cynthia's restraints on a nearby table. Cynthia seized her chance. She lunged at Hendy, striking her with a lamp. I don't know. Y'all, this story is changing up, but she struck her with a lamp. She grabbed the keys and freed herself. She was still naked. She was still chained up. She was bloody and everything. She ran into the street as Ray chased after her. She hammered on a nearby trailer door until somebody finally helped her. The call to 911 was made. So that was the way that she escaped. But it was several victims, you guys, but they're mainly talking about her. So this is where he was, getting caught up. So Cynthia luckily escaped this torture chamber that was set out for her to basically be unalived later on. You get what I'm saying? All right. Her escape would shatter Ray's decades-long facade. When police confronted Ray, he denied everything. But Cynthia's injuries and her terror told the truth. Authorities searched Ray's property. What they found triggered one of the largest, most complex investigations in New Mexico's history. Inside the toy box, they uncovered diaries going back 40 years, notes talking about and referencing multiple different women that he had captured and basically lured in there. They had maps and photos in there. They had restraint devices. They had videotapes. They had it all in there. But the most haunting discovery was Ray's detailed journals. He had logged dates, locations, and descriptions of women, some identified and some were not. The entries spanned decades, and although Ray's name became synonymous with murder investigations, he faced a devastating roadblock. Or I would like to say investigators faced a roadblock. There were no bodies. Ray was meticulous. He lived near a massive lake, and he had access to remote areas where remains could easily just disappear. The FBI suspected he may have killed dozens, maybe even more than that. Ray didn't do this all alone, though. He didn't act alone. He had many accomplices. His circle of accomplices was shocking. Cindy, who was his girlfriend, who not only assisted in capturing and torturing victims, but she took pleasure in it. She took pleasure in it as he did. Do you ever catch some of those sick couples and things like that I've heard multiple stories like this where it's been like sick couples that enjoy sadistic things being done to people and things like that. She was one of those people. His daughter was also involved. Investigators believe she helped lure victims, especially young women who were reported missing in the area during the early 1990s. Also, another accomplice of his was a friend of Ray's. His name was Dennis. He was convicted for his role in the death of a woman linked to Ray's operation. Interrogations revealed that Ray was charismatic, manipulative, and skilled at drawing others into his control. Cindy, during questioning, confessed that Ray had likely disposed of bodies in the lake and in abandoned mine shafts. But without remains, prosecutors faced an uphill battle. The trial of David Parker Ray became a national spectacle. Victims had testified, investigators described the torture chamber, the FBI presented the audio tapes, the same ones Ray forced his victims to hear, which was so hard for everyone else to hear. Investigators, detectives, all of that. It was so hard for them to hear those tapes and just see everything that was going on in that torture chamber when they took a look at it. It was just so horrifying, you guys. It's horrifying to even hear about that he would lure his victims in there and unimaginably do unimaginable acts to them and different things of that nature. He had tools, whips, handcuffs. I'm not sure about handcuffs. I don't think I heard anything about handcuffs, but anyways, he had multiple tools, so it wouldn't surprise me. Ray remained calm. He was emotionless. He showed no remorse. In 2001, after multiple charges and a complex legal process, Ray was sentenced to 224 years in prison for kidnapping and sexual torture. Y'all, guess what happened? What happened was, after serving, he didn't even serve 3 years, and he died of a heart attack in 2002. So at age 62, that's the age that he had passed away, or whatever the case may be. You know, after all that, or whatever the case may be, he didn't even serve any time, rarely, before he ended up passing away. But the mystery of his victims didn't die with him. The FBI still believe Ray may have abducted and killed up to 60 women, perhaps more. So, quite disturbing, right? Alright, that was today's case. I hope that you guys took something from this case. We definitely will discuss more cases in the future. Be on the lookout for that, you guys. Let me know what you thought of this case. Let me know which case that you would like to hear, what case you would like me to do next. I will definitely cover it on this channel. And like I said, show support, you guys. Like it, comment. Let me know your thoughts, your theories on this. I'll definitely see y'all in the next video.